Hello and welcome to Quick Start to Coding with Swift. Please may I introduce my co-host, Matt. Matt Hanlon is a long-time software developer, coach, teacher and dad in Ireland.
Thanks, Steve. And may I introduce Steve Bunce, an author, teacher, associate lecturer, and dad in the northeast of England.
Thanks, Matt. We have an exciting session for you today. Today, we are going to experiment with other people's code. We're going to change variables and functions to draw with spirals. And we're going to think about spirals and turning around and instructions in our dancing today. So today we are going to waltz. Well, I'm excited. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to Unplugged with Steve. Today we're going to build on what we've been learning. I'm going to think about variables and how they can affect what we do. Maybe you've seen television programs like Strictly Come Dancing. In those programs, the participants have to learn a series of steps to perform their dance precisely. Now today we're going to waltz. So we're going to have great fun learning those steps and then trying them out in your room. So the pattern for the waltz is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And the dance follows that pattern, so the music matches the dance. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But what about the dance moves? Well, let's have a think now. If you imagine my hands are your feet, you start with your feet together and you take a step forward with your left leg and then you swing that right leg around to have it either side and then you bring your feet together. So that's our first three steps. So step, swing and feet together again. You then repeat it coming backwards. So a step backwards, swing your leg and then feet together again. And that's it. And then you just repeat those moves over and over. But really precisely if you want to get a good score. So I have some paper here and I'm just going to draw that out so you can see what I mean. Okay? So here is my piece of paper. I've folded it in half and half again and half again. So I have my 8 panels here. So step 1. Smile. So don't forget to smile. You've got to look like you're enjoying yourself. Step number 2. If this is my left foot and this is my right foot, start with your feet together. Step number 3. Your left foot moves forwards and your right foot stays still. Step 4. Your left foot stays still, but your right foot swings across to there. Step 5. You bring your feet together. So you leave your right foot still and you bring your left foot across. Step 6. You now step backwards with your right foot. So your right foot comes back here, leaving your left foot still. Step 7, you now swing that left foot across back to where we started, leaving your right foot here. And finally, you bring your feet together again. So left foot, bring that right foot over to here. Okay? So can you see that? We've started with a smile, feet together, and then left foot forwards, right foot swings across, and then you bring your feet together again. Left foot, right foot moves back, swing that right foot around, and then finally feet together. So that's the idea. And can you see we've moved around a square? Look, like a square, gone forwards, across, down, back. Forwards, across, down and back. Okay, so we've moved around a square in this shape for our waltz. So that is what it is. Now, I think I need to go and practice this, and I think you can go and practice it too. So, I shall put on my dancing shirt. Oops. And I shall go and practice this out and see if I can get the moves together. So in your head, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 is our moves. Okay, so it's forwards, 1, swing across, 2, feet together, 3 in there. Okay, and we have our steps to follow. So I shall pop those up on the screen and go and have a bit of a dance. Okay, see you soon. Wow, wasn't that fun? So now you are all ballroom dancers. You've tried out the steps and you've tried moving around at a particular speed. Now, yesterday we talked about beats per minute. So the music which we've chosen for the waltz follows a particular pattern. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And also we can think about how fast that goes. So if you remember when we talked about variables, we talked about the name of the song, we talked about the beats per minute, how fast it was, as well as the other parts which might repeat within a song. So have a look here. You can see here's when I was looking at different bits of waltz music. It mentions, for example, the name of the song. It has the variable there for the number of beats per minute. So we can start thinking about that as well as our variable. So enough from me now. You can practice some more if you like, and then we're going to go and code with Matt. So thanks very much. Keep dancing.
Thanks, Steve. All right, today we're going to take a little different tack. We're going to open up a new playground called Spirals today. So let's kick over to our iPad. Let's pick up Playgrounds, and we're going to grab Spirals. Now, if you don't have that on your iPad yet, you're just going to go over to More Playgrounds and hit See All. And Spirals is going to be here in the Challenges area, way over for me, way over to the right. And we can tap on it over here, get more information about it, and download it to our device. I already downloaded it, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to open up Spirals. So this is a little bit like some of the other playgrounds that we've worked with. There's less of an introduction here because this is more about playing around with things. In this playground, we're going to explore geometric shapes. Now, if you've ever played with something like a spirograph, which is that toy where you draw different spirals on a piece of paper where you plug your pen into a certain gear and rotate it around the circle, you've kind of done this before, except we're just going to do this in code today. We can learn a little bit about roulettes and cycloids. These are kind of important because this is what astronomers used back in the day to try to figure out how the heavens moved. So they used some of these same things, and they used models like this, where we had a circle rotating around the inside of a circle or on the outside of a circle. And they drew these points, these lines, based on a point on the circle that was rotating around either the outside or the inside of the other circle. So it's got a long, rich historical tradition. And even if you don't care about any of that stuff, it draws some pretty cool shapes. So we can have a read through here, just like with the other playgrounds. We have some blue text here, like the cycloid. We can read a little bit, we can tap on that and read a little bit about what that means. And it shows us the motion of this is that point on the circle. And as it rotates through, we can see that we're drawing a line through all the points that point on the circle rotates through. And we have a line of code here. We have a draw spiral function, and it takes one parameter, which is just telling the function that it wants to behave a certain way, and it'll change the code inside the function based on this parameter. Right now it says hypocycloid. So, okay, so if we hit run my code, we'll have a look, and we can see that there's our point, that purple dot on the edge of the circle. We have a line there highlighted, and if I tap the screen, everything goes away except for the line that we're drawing around where that point goes on the circle. We can also zoom in and zoom out to inspect our spiral. So there's a lot of stuff that we can do, a lot of stuff we can inspect with this. So that's a hypocycloid. So if you're studying geometry and you're like, okay, cool, I want to see what it looks like and actually play around with it a little bit, that's a great way to experience it. If we tap on hypocycloid and highlight that whole section, we can pick any one of the other type of cycloids. Let's pick an epicycloid. Remember to hit run my code so that we actually run that function. And you can see now I'm on the outside of the circle. And if I tap the screen, my circle goes away and I can see that that's just the path that I'm drawing there. Again, if we try it, let's try another one. Okay, so now we get a slightly funkier shape. So this might be interesting to keep in mind when we're starting to draw our own things. A lot of our early coding experiments will be done with drawing things. You may have experienced something like Logo or Turtle Graphics if you used another programming language, where you sent a little turtle around the screen drawing different shapes and lines and things. You may have used the playground that we have at the Code Hub for doing turtle graphics. Okay, so that's another one. Let's try our last one. Let's hit run our code. Okay, so we're getting kind of an elliptical looking-ish line. So now we're not going to go through each and every page, but this playground is interesting because you can go up to the table of contents or you can just hit next. And it will tell you a bit more about each of the different types that we're working with here. So if we look at epicycloids, so we learned how to, on the previous page, draw a hypocycloid. Now we're on the outside of the circle, and we're following the path of this circle rolling along the outside of it. We can change the colors, we can change the track radius. And if we read through here, we're going to get a bit better idea of what changing these values means. So the really fun thing with this particular playground is not that we're going to learn all this stuff about cycloids. That is one benefit. But we can also play around with it. So we've got a bunch of code here that now that we're a little bit more experienced coders, we've been doing this for a little while. We had a big day like this when we worked with Lights Camera Code the other day, where we dove into some code that we weren't 100% familiar with what it was going to do. We changed a few things, dragged a few things in, and then we had a working camera at the end of it. This is very similar. We can play around with these numbers. We understand that we have things like, this is a property that we can set called track radius. We can set two other properties called path color and track color. We can set the wheel radius, in this case to -1.0. So we have a better idea of what the syntax is here so that we can at least make changes and not worry about the outcome, or just see what the outcome is. So what we can do is we can have a read through these pages here that give you a lot of insight into different geometric shapes. But what we're going to do is I'm going to actually leap right to playtime. So for this quick start to code, we actually have a quick look at the overview. We try out a few different types of cycloids. And now we get to change all the different parameters. So you can see we still have path color, track color, spoke color, wheel color, our background color. We can do the draw speed, so we can have it speed up a little bit. We can change the theme. And this is a Boolean value. So that basically just means it can be one of either true or false, nothing else. I could try giving it a number, but it's going to fail. In fact, let's take a look. So we'll say, give it a value of 3. Say let's be super fancy and give it a 3.0. Swift isn't going to let me do anything with that because it has to be a Boolean value. So it has to be true or false. So we'll actually highlight that again. Oops. We'll tap on there, highlight it, and we'll just delete it. And if the autocomplete bar doesn't come up, we just go over here and bring up the keyboard and start typing in true. Then that should get rid of my red warning. Let's try running that. So I haven't made any other changes except change the theme. Okay, not bad. My path color is a bit different because based on the theme, it decided to pick a different color because it knew that it was going to be drawing on a lighter background. But what changes would you make here? I'm going to give you a minute to code yourself. What changes would you make? And what kind of shape do you wind up with? Now I'm thinking that I might change the track radius, make it a bit smaller. That's the circle that my other circle rolls alongside. The wheel radius I might make a little bit bigger. So shrink the track that I roll on and make the wheel that's rolling a little bit bigger. And really, you can treat this playground just like you would if you're using a spirograph tool when you were a kid and you were just drawing spirals on the screen. And then you can kind of show them off by tapping, highlighting that. right, so what have you come up with in your first experiment? So the other thing you can do as well, especially in this playground, since it's so visual, is you can go and make sure you take a picture, create a PDF from your final creation, record a movie of your spiral being drawn, post it to TikTok with some cool music. All right, so let's see. I said I was going to change the track radius. I'm going to make it 3. The wheel radius, I'll make a little bit bigger. And we'll see if we can use a number with a decimal point in it. So there's a note here, a comment, and you might remember from previous sessions that comments are just notes to the developer. They're not notes to Swift, because Swift ignores anything with these double slashes. So we can go have a look and say, okay, cool. Make spoke length equal to the wheel radius for a cycloid, or not equal for a trochoid. All right, cool. Well, it's not equal right now, right? Because the spoke length is 1 and the wheel radius is 1.5. Let's change the wheel color to something a little darker because we're using the light theme. We won't bother changing the background color because we set light theme to true. And then we can change the draw speed. I won't do that for now, but let's hit run my code and see what we have. Okay. Interesting. So this is what it means by it's not a cycloid anymore. This is a trochoid. Kind of looks like an ellipse. And you can see how astronomers might have used this to determine the orbit of planets as they're going by. Okay. That's kind of interesting. It looks like I've almost drawn a cartoon character alien for myself. I'm actually going to change the light theme back to false. So when I tap on true, it's going to bring up the options here. I can actually just hit false right there. Let's see. We're going to change, now that we've tried out that, let's actually make our spoke length the same as our wheel radius. So we're going to bring up the keyboard and type the dot 5. So now my wheel radius and spoke length are the same. So let's see what difference that makes. So I run my code. Okay, in this case, it looks like I'm just drawing a line through the middle. Now, from a math perspective, that might be because my track radius is 3, and this is exactly half of it. Now, the track radius this is my track, and the radius, of course, is from the middle here over to the side, that length. The wheel radius is that orange line there, the length of that. So let's try changing the track radius. Let's make it even smaller. Let's run our code. Okay, I might pinch to zoom out and see what we have. Interesting. So now the spoke length, let's actually make the spoke length. Let's change that and see what shape we get. .5, let's try that out. All right, and this is all well and good. This might be a bit slow for us though, right? So let's go take a look at that draw speed. Has anyone jacked it way up? So they gave a suggestion saying that for best results, choose a draw speed between 1 and 10. So let's try 10. And you'll notice I don't have to put the dot 0 there, but I could. That's kind of an interesting shape that we've had drawn. So let's hit run my code. So way faster when we do it that way. A little bit mesmerizing. If we turn it off, we can just see our shape at the end of the day. If we tap the screen again, it comes back. Has anyone tried using a larger number than 10? So I'm going to change a few things. But before I do, I'm going to give you a couple seconds to change a few things. So what would you change here? What do you want to see have happen really fast and make some interesting shapes on the screen? So take a couple seconds, try to change some of those values and see if we can draw a lot. So right now we're just drawing one shape on the screen. We've also, in our previous experiments, just drawn a line on the screen. What other kind of shapes can you get on the screen? Because if I tap on the screen, you wouldn't even know that anything's actually happening right now. All right, hopefully you're taking some pictures of these as you go. As you change each value, maybe take a picture each time. Let's see, I'm going to change the track radius to something a bit bigger. Let's say 20. We'll use a small wheel radius. We'll change the spoke length to 5. We'll leave the wheel radius to 1.5. And we're going to try to go to above and beyond. So instead of between 1 and 10, we're actually going to try 100 for our draw speed. Let's give it a shot. Okay, cool. Now that's a bit more interesting. That's like a spirograph kind of thing. And even if we tap on the screen to hide our drawing, we can see that the drawing is still going on as it kind of fills in our shape. Still going. And we've kind of made a sort of fluorescent donut, which is always nice. So this is well worth playing around with, and it can show you that actually geometry can be a lot of fun, that we can draw some very cool things with code especially. So these define a bunch of variables here, or they've been defined already for us, and we're assigning values to them, like our track radius and our wheel radius. If we change the speed, if we run our code so things go a little bit slower, you can see it being constructed a little bit more at a decent pace. So go to town. I'd love to see some of your creations. Please post them if you can to social media with a hashtag everyone can code, hashtag code week, because even though we're past code week, it's still going on. You're still able to go and use some of the tools that you've learned about during this week. And yeah, we'd love to see some of your work.